Hey guys, Youngblood with you, and today I wanted to get back on the video bandwagon to review bounty hunting and Star Citizen 3.12 patches. Now, if you were like me before, you were already spending a lot of time in prior patches doing bounty hunting because it was just a more action-oriented way to make credits in the verse. The payouts weren't necessarily great, but it was a decent way to make some money and to have a good time doing it. Now, the old meta in PvE bounty hunting was essentially that you would end up taking a call to arms mission where you get credits for killing anybody that's red or considered bad, but you had to do that after you killed your primary target on your bounty, so you would net a few extra 1,000 credits on top of that. And then what you would do is you would just string missions together, killing the primary target, then the add-ons. Now, things have changed to some degree with 3.12. First off, the old Pro Tem mission that you could get that would earn you the ability to do other bounty hunting missions from, for higher payouts, that's gone to some degree. Now, first off, that mission would pay you a low sum, but you still made a little bit of money off of doing your Pro Tem, about 1,000 credits. Now, the greedy overlords in the Crusader system are now having you pay to certify that you are worthy to take on their jobs. At lower levels, the fee isn't much. It's about 500 credits for a VLRT, and that is new vernacular. That also is going to replace the CS1 through CS4 bounties that we were used to seeing in previous patches. And now you have 5 levels of bounty ranging from VLRT, which is very low risk target, to LRT, MRT for moderate, HRT for high, and VHRT for very high. Now, what you normally see in these is that a VLRT is about one single seat ship, and that ranges up to a VHRT where you'll have about 5 or so ships. And what's a little bit funny is that an HRT and a VHRT don't really have any different ship diversity between them. The missions really seem about the same, so you would think it would be about NPC skill level, where the VHRTs are a little bit better, but honestly it's hard to tell if that's the case or not. HRT and VHRTs typically have the targets being a Valkyrie, a Hurricane, or a Vanguard as the primary targets, with support ships that range from some of the better fighters like Sabres to Freelancer misses and Hornets and those types of things. Now, of the primary targets, the Valkyrie is by far the meanest. And sure, it's not the most agile or anything like that, but it's running a full contingent of ballistic Gatling guns, and it can tear through your ship pretty quick if you're not careful. The Hurricane itself, it's not that hard to take out, but if you let it get too close, he's going to be harder to hit, and it does have a lot of firepower that it can put out as well. In addition, I've seen comments that there's supposed to be an ERT or an extreme risk target, but I have yet to been presented with that opportunity, and I haven't seen anybody else that's had one yet. So I don't think that's in the game yet, at least based on what I've seen. So if you get back to certifications, you have to pay a fee for each level of risk target, ranging from 500 at the VLRT all the way up to 10,000 for the VHRT. The good news is that when the first patch dropped, if the target that you were pursuing crashed into an asteroid and died, you failed and lost your money. But now if they do that, you do complete your mission, which does happen, and I'm fine with that. I mean, hell, you may have scared them into it, so you deserve the money. The payouts, though, have also drastically increased, which is why I don't mind paying into each of these levels. If you remember a CS4 mission before, they would pay roughly 7,500 credits plus a few grand from dealing with the additional ships that you may be engaged with. Now, the payouts are really ranging from about 4,000 UEC on VLRT all the way up to 17,500 UEC for a VHRT, and then it just ranges between there. If you're on a server that ends up populating a lot of bounties, it changes the game a little bit now, because the payout is more significant for your primary target, so wasting time killing the additional targets doesn't always make sense. The amount of missions that show up also depend on how many people are bounty hunting on that server. Now, in 3.12, I end up just chaining together HRT and VHRT missions, and I really just spend time killing the one main guy, and then I move on to additional VHRTs or HRTs, not bothering with the ads because it just yields more income. In a ship like the Prowler or the Vanguard, you can manage these missions solo without a whole lot of effort. If you're a pretty good pilot, Sabres, Super Hornets, Defenders, some of the other tankier, smaller ships do a pretty good job as well. And if you're a really good pilot, a Talon or an Arrow will do just fine if you can avoid the fire. The catch, though, is that typically the target spawns in first and then the rest come in after that. Not that long after, so if you don't end up killing the target really quick and you're in one of the lighter ships, when his friends arrive, that could mean that the lower shield capabilities on some of the smaller ships, like the Arrow, make it harder to manage multiple targets at once, especially since they're now running ballistics, and they do have slightly better aim and tracking than they did before. I generally find the best two places to conduct these bounty operations are really around Hurston and Crusader, and the payouts at Crusader actually seem to be a little bit higher right now. As far as the certifications are concerned, you have tracker licenses, journeyman, and advanced tracker titles that correspond to the level of targets you want to go after. Now, in addition to that, you also have the suspect apprehension certification, which is more difficult because you are now being certified to chase player targets, and that inherently is more difficult to complete. Now, you're paying to certify, and you're also chasing a player around the system. So I would probably say that unless you actually enjoy PvP, I wouldn't really bother if you're focused on money, because a lot of times players just bounce around all over the place. They don't really have any intentions of being caught. They like just giving people a chase. I do like chasing players from time to time, so it is an interesting challenge if you want to take that on. Now, there is another type called a fugitive apprehension, I believe. I haven't seen it in a little while, and that really involves chasing down a player that's escaped prison. Overall, though, there's a more complete arc on what you need to complete to really dive into the bounty gameplay effectively. Now, in addition to the traditional bounty missions, if you wrap up with Miles Eckert, not only are you going to be able to work the Arlington gang up to the Idris mission, but you'll also start to earn just kind of group bounty missions or group warrants that normally end up being around HRT or VHRT. And if you opt for the ones that pay out around 60,000 credits, the targets are typically all going to be around one planetary system, meaning like different moons around Hurston, for example. And that makes it quick and probably pretty good payout for the time that you invest in it. There is, however, a higher level group bounty, one that pays out around 80,000 credits, which is a lot, but that's to take out 3 hammerheads. If you have a group of players, these are fun, but you also have an interesting wild card to consider. The hammerhead target typically has a few hammerhead buddies to deal with as well. You can get in and kill the one and get out, but that can be challenging when you have 3 to 4 hammerheads flying around. Now, if the laser scatterguns are still bypassing shields, a saber gets the job done pretty quickly, but once it gets patched out, you're best suited to using torpedoes or a group of players to get that job done. They also typically spawn 1 at Crusader or 2 at Hurston, or vice versa. So to make it a good time investment, you may want to have someone stationed at one planet and another, at the other planet, and you share the mission so you can get them done so you're not wasting time in quantum travel, because that time spent in quantum is likely going to eat into your earnings enough to make it not worth really doing compared to some of the others around the same planet. Overall, the meta for making money right now seems to have changed to some degree, where mining isn't necessarily the go-to anymore, specifically rock mining. Mining is still a good way to go, especially if you're going to do traditional mining and you're going to stack jobs at the refinery, but you also have the factor to consider that you still have to transport your refined goods to be able to sell them elsewhere, so you could lose money that way if you're killed or 30k, and you lose a lot of time invested in the refinery process as well as the funds you spent to refine. For me, bounties are a good way to earn money right now, and it's likely where it should be, especially once dying comes in with more consequences, because then there is a risk-reward equation to factor in. I personally like how things are right now, and if you like combat, I highly suggest that you come in and you give it a go because it's in a good place for you. So if you have questions on any of this, please let me know. Otherwise, stay tuned for more content coming soon. Have yourselves a wonderful day.